Modern heating systems love to brag. Smart thermostats, heat pumps, AI-controlled climate settings. But, deep in the frozen history of Eastern Europe, there was a stove so efficient, so brutally effective, that it made firewood last 3 times longer while heating homes through winters that killed armies. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Even with all our technology, modern science still hasn't truly beaten it. Before we dive in, if you want survival knowledge that actually works when comfort collapses, subscribe to History Survival Code now, because honestly, algorithms forget history, but winters never do. This wasn't some luxury invention, it was a necessity. The Russian stove was born in a world where fuel was precious, winters were merciless, and failure meant death. What it achieved wasn't magic. It was physics, perfected through centuries of brutal trial and error. At first glance, the Russian stove looks massive, almost wasteful, thick masonry, a bulky shape. But that size is the secret weapon. Unlike modern stoves that burn hot and fast, this stove burned slow and smart. Firewood was burned intensely for a short time, just a few hours. Then the fire was allowed to die completely. No constant feeding, no all-night tending. Here's where the genius kicks in. The stove's thick brick body absorbed enormous amounts of heat during the burn. Those bricks didn't just get warm, they stored thermal energy deep inside. Once the fire was gone, the stove slowly released that heat for up to 24 hours, sometimes longer. One firing could heat an entire home through the night and into the next day. Modern stoves push heat out quickly and lose it just as fast. This one held onto it like a vault. The average modern wood stove wastes a shocking amount of energy. Heat escapes up the chimney. Combustion is incomplete. Fuel burns unevenly. The Russian stove solved all of this with one brutal idea: force the smoke to work before it leaves. Inside the stove, smoke didn't rush straight out. Instead, it was forced through a long, winding internal maze of channels built into the masonry. Every twist slowed the gases, and every turn transferred heat into the brick. By the time the smoke exited, it was cool, clean, and stripped of usable energy. This meant nearly complete combustion. Less wood, more heat, and, well, less waste. Historical records and modern tests of masonry stoves based on this design show efficiency levels exceeding 80%. Many modern fireplaces, honestly, barely reach half of that. Firewood piles that would last 1 winter suddenly lasted 3. Modern heating really focuses on warming the air, but honestly, that's a mistake. Warm air just escapes, it leaks out, rises and disappears before you know it. The Russian stove, though, well, it heated mass instead. Walls, floors, people, everything. The stove radiated this gentle, even heat, kind of like sunlight. There were no blasts, no cold corners anywhere. You could sit right beside it and just feel the warmth soaking into your bones. That radiant heat, it warmed objects directly, and then those objects warmed the room. Even after doors opened or, say, cold air rushed in, the heat, well, it stayed put. This is exactly why homes with these stoves felt warm, even when temperatures outside dropped far below zero. The heat wasn't floating away. It was anchored, right there where you needed it. This wasn't just a heater. It was, honestly, a multi-tool disguised as a stove. The flat top was used for sleeping, especially for children and elders. Elevated warmth reduced illness and hypothermia. Internal ovens allowed cooking long after the fire was out. Some designs even heated water or dried clothes using residual heat. During wartime, including World War II, homes with these stoves had a massive survival advantage. When fuel was scarce, Electricity non-existent and supply lines shattered. Just one firing a day kept families alive. German troops advancing east underestimated this. They planned for quick victory, assuming the cold would break civilians first. Instead, the cold broke the invaders. Homes with efficient stoves turned winter into a defensive weapon. Yes, modern masonry heaters exist, and yes, engineers definitely understand thermal mass. But, convenience culture really killed patience. People want instant heat, not delayed gratification. So, we trade efficiency for speed. A Russian-style stove? Well, it demands planning. You burn once, not constantly. You trust the system. You respect heat as a resource. That kind of mindset just doesn't sell well in a world obsessed with buttons and apps. But when power fails, fuel runs low, or systems collapse, the old design wins, every time. Prepping culture really loves gadgets, solar panels, batteries, and those fancy stoves with fans and electronics, all that high-tech stuff. But, history teaches us a much harsher lesson. The best survival tools are honestly dumb, heavy, and nearly indestructible. The Russian stove had no moving parts, no wires, no software, just physics and patience, really. It couldn't crash, it couldn't glitch, it couldn't freeze. Energy prices rise, power grids fail, winters grow unpredictable. The old stove wasn't just about warmth, it was about resilience. About, designing life around scarcity instead of pretending scarcity won't happen. That's why this hack still embarrasses modern systems, not because we lack technology, but because we forgot wisdom. History doesn't whisper, it warns. If this kind of forgotten survival knowledge matters to you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to History's Survival Code. Share this with someone who thinks modern tech has all the answers. And remember, when systems fail, history still works.